Welcome to College Game Day with Hick the Stick. It is time for the bowl games. The season is over. We know who's in the playoffs. We know who's in the bowl games. Now it's time to figure out who will be taking home the championship trophy. But first, last week I went 7-2, making my total prediction for this year. 201 games right and 51 games wrong. I hit the 200 mark. I am super excited. I've been working for that all season long. Now it's time to see how I can do on my bowl predictions. But there are 41 bowls, and if I picked all of them, it would be a really long show. So that's why I'm not picking all of them. I'm just picking the games that I think you should sit down and watch. They're going to be some exciting games. Let's get started with our first game, the Holiday Bowl, USC versus Iowa. Now, these two teams are top 25 teams in the final college football playoff rankings. They've played good all season long. They got some big wins and some bad losses. But these teams know how to play. It's going to come down to the end. But when it's all said and done, USC gets the win over Iowa. The Cotton Bowl. We got Memphis versus Penn State. Now, Memphis is a non-Power 5 team. And then we got Penn State, who lost to Ohio State and to Minnesota. Two close games this season, two upsetting losses. This is going to be maybe who has the ball last. Well, Memphis is playing for all the non-Power 5 teams. They get the win over Penn State. The Orange Bowl. We got Florida versus Virginia. Virginia played Clemson in the ACC championship game last week, and they got beat. They're now going to play Florida in the Orange Bowl, but Florida, the Gators, beat Virginia. The Alamo Bowl. We got Utah versus Texas. And San Antonio and Austin, that ain't very far from each other. It's pretty much a home game. They're got a lot of fans there. The Longhorns are ready to play. Do we have another upset this season in the bowl season for Texas? Utah upset after losing the Pac-12 championship to Oregon. They could have made the playoffs. They didn't. Now they're playing Texas. Do they get the win? I'm going with my Longhorns, but it's going to be close. Our next game, we got the Outback Bowl. We got Auburn versus Minnesota. Minnesota's been rowing that boat all season long. And then they went to Iowa and they crashed. And then they did some repairs on the boat. They went to Wisconsin and they crashed again. This team had chances to win games, but they lost those last two games they needed to win. Now they're playing Auburn, a team that just their last game beat Alabama. This team is excited. They're ready to go in the bowl season and play Minnesota in the Outback Bowl. But the Gophers beat the Auburn Tigers. The Rose Bowl. We got Oregon versus Wisconsin. We got defense against offense. We got the Pac-12 champions against the Big Ten losers. Wisconsin had the lead against Ohio State in the Big Ten championship game, and then they lost it. The Oregon Ducks pretty much had the lead the whole game, and they kept it, and they beat Utah. It's going to be offense against defense, but in this game, the offense gets it done. Oregon beats Wisconsin. The Sugar Bowl. We got Georgia versus Baylor. Now, Georgia was in the Sugar Bowl last season. Baylor didn't even make it to a bowl last season. It was a terrible season for them. Now they're here playing Georgia. They are excited. They wanted to be in the playoffs, but they're not there. They're now going to take on Georgia in the Sugar Bowl. But Georgia, they lost last year. They're upset. They're going to win this season against the Baylor Bears. We got the Citrus Bowl. We got Michigan versus Alabama. The first year Alabama is not in the college football playoffs. This team lost two games in the regular season. They lost their starting quarterback. They're playing a Michigan team who only didn't get those big wins this season. They beat Notre Dame, but that was really their only big win of the season. Now they're playing Alabama. Alabama is upset. They're not in the playoffs again this season, and they'll be the regular Alabama team we see every year, and they'll beat Michigan. Now on to the playoffs. We got Oklahoma versus LSU. LSU is the most explosive offense there is in college football, with Joe Burrow, the Heisman candidate. And then we got Oklahoma with their Heisman candidate and Jalen Hurts. It's going to be a high-scoring ball game, but I think LSU gets a turnover or something, gets the lead, keeps the lead, and ends up winning the game by 14 points. LSU beats Oklahoma. And the biggest game of them all, Clemson versus Ohio State. Number 3 against number 2. Clemson struggled at the beginning of the season, but then they found their way back, and they are a tough team to beat. They look like that team that won the national championship last year. And then we got Ohio State, a complete team on offense and on defense. This might be a little more defense in this game. It's going to come down to maybe who has the ball last. But Ohio State gets the win over Clemson and goes to the national championship. So, I got LSU and Ohio State in the national championship game. And the college football playoff champion is the Ohio State Buckeyes. They beat Clemson in the national championship. Well, that's all I got here on College Game Day with Hick the Stick. I'll see you in January when I make my last video of the season and give you my bowl prediction results. Thank you for watching this week. I'll see you in January. Have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.